Okay, so this is actually the second topic in your syllabus from your chapter 1. So we have already done with emergence of sociology. Now we are going to discuss about the scope of the subject. Now see, here I have prepared an answer, but it is not complete in itself. At this point of time, what I can tell you about the scope of the subject is what I have actually incorporated. But this is not a complete answer. This answer in itself is not enough also. The scope of the subject is actually unlimited, right? And you will see that once we complete the syllabus. So I will strongly and I will always recommend the students that you will prepare this answer once we complete the syllabus. So once we complete the syllabus, you will get complete idea about the subject. So it will be obviously very easy for you to write the scope of the subject that you have studied. And there is no need to remember or mug up anything for this particular topic, but still I'm giving you an answer. Here I have incorporated all the developments which have actually happened from 1838 onwards. 1838 is where we stopped yesterday, emergence of sociology, when we discussed about Auguste Comte, and he not only coined the term sociology but also laid the basic foundation to the subject. So it is very young discipline. So 1838 only it emerged, and from then what all the developments was there is what I'm going to discuss now. But all these things will be very clear to you once we're done with the thinkers and all. For example, we divide this into different sections, like I will discuss about 1838 to 1940. Okay, so this is one stage we will discuss, or 1838 to 1880, then 1880 to 1940, then 1940 to 1990, and then 1990 to up till now. So like this we can divide into different stages, and in each stage you will see the contribution of different thinkers. And all these thinkers, whether it is Marx or Durkheim or Weber, Parson, Merton, all these thinkers we are going to study in detail. So I would say it will be very easy for you to write this particular answer once we complete the syllabus, because it's all about asking you the syllabus. What is the scope of the subject and what is the scope of sociology is ultimately you will be in a position to answer once we complete the syllabus. That's the main idea, and it should be coming from within. Once you know the subject, if somebody is asking you what is the scope of the sociology, it will be very easy for me to write what is the scope of sociology even without this particular answer or any ready-made answer for that matter. You should not look into any ready-made answer for writing this particular question once we're done with the syllabus. Okay, so if you have prepared for this exam, this topic is something which you should be in a position to write, or you should be in a position to tell to others this is the scope of the subject. So these are the elements that we are studying, like we are talking about stratification, we are even talking about politics in sociology, we are talking about religion, we are talking about family, we are talking about caste, we are talking about social change. All these are the scope of sociology, and what are the different perspectives which are used. Okay, functionalism, conflict, you don't want to worry about all these words. I will give you the blueprint, or I'll give you the outline of what we are actually going to discuss. So here basically we are going to discuss about the syllabus only. So when we see the scope of the subject, if you are not able to write anything, at least if you can write the contents in the syllabus, that itself will give you the scope of subject. That is the scope of sociology. Okay, and then how the scope of sociology developed, all these we will discuss today. But keep this point in mind, you just have this discussion, understand it here, just have one reading, that's enough. You don't want to spend too much of time for this particular topic, you don't want to mug up, you even don't want to write an answer at this point of time. Yesterday I got few answers from you, you have written the answers and it was so good also. But I would say you don't want to write any answer for this particular question at this point of time, because once we complete the syllabus, you will be in a position to write a very good answer. Okay, so we are actually going to discuss what is the scope of sociology with this entire 2.5 months only. It is not this 1 hour I can complete what is the scope of sociology, but still if the question is asked what you need to write, I'll give you here. And at the same time, what we are going to discuss today is actually the glimpse of what we are actually going to cover in the 2.5 months. So what all things that we are going to cover, that is what actually I'm going to discuss as a scope of sociology. Okay, now okay, so any doubt from yesterday's topic? If you have, we can discuss before we move on to that. And one yeah. Himanshu, please turn off your mic. So Mike, this is something which you have to keep in mind in this batch. I know we all know that we are crossing 50 students are there. So it will be very difficult to manage in the online setup. I cannot keep on turning off your mics individually, right? So I was expecting that 35 students in the previous batches also, 3, 4, 5, all those batches I am taking only 35. Even for this batch also I was expecting that, but the last few people joined, they are taking prelims this year, so they have no other option. That's the reason why I have accommodated. So we have crossed this 50, so it will be very difficult if you turn off, if your mic is turned on. And if you have any doubt, no problem, we can discuss in between. But always keep in mind this mic issue. That is a big problem. Okay, so we will start this session. So here I have divided into 4 phases. I'll briefly tell you what are these 4 phases. So the 4 phases are like this: 1838 to 1880. So this is the first phase, and then 1880 to 1940. Okay, and then 1940 to 1990, and then 1990 to till now. So there is no such kind of clear-cut division, but for the sake of understanding we are dividing it. Okay, so when we talk about this phase, initial phase, okay, the first phase, here we basically discuss about Auguste Comte. So here we will be talking about Auguste Comte. So he is the founding father of sociology. Whenever you write about Auguste Comte, you should be writing about founding father of sociology. Okay, so then he divided the scope of sociology into social statics. All these we will see in detail when we discuss about 10th chapter, social change, social statics and social dynamics. Okay, so otherwise we don't want to study about Comte. We don't have any point related to Comte in the syllabus, but there is a 10th chapter which is related to social change. There randomly they have given a topic, theories of social change. So there we will see one of the thinker, that is Auguste Comte. He has also proposed the theory of social change. So he's saying study social statics and social dynamics. That means social statics means it is like the static part. It is a structure of society. Okay, dynamics means it is a changing part. So it is nothing but social structure and social change. And if you see your paper 2 syllabus, the first part is there, that is related to Indian thinkers and then socio-religious reform movements, etc. Then the part B and part C, section B and section C is related to social structure and social change. Agrarian social structure changes, industrial social structure changes, like that. So you have to study social statics and social dynamics. That means the static part as well as dynamic part. It's just like your syllabus only, right? There are some static parts like history, geography, polity, economy. You have to study that, and you also have to study the current affair, which is dynamic, which keeps on changing. So according to Auguste Comte, the scope of sociology is to study social statics and social dynamics. And in which book he proposed all those things that we will see in his book, System of Positive Polity, Course of Positive Philosophy and System of Positive Polity, he proposed this idea. In detailed discussion, we will do that in the chapter 10, social change. When we discuss about theories of social change by Auguste Comte, we will discuss this. Okay, so that is his idea about the scope of sociology. Then one more thinker is there. Okay, that is Herbert Spencer. Okay, so Herbert Spencer, and when we talk about Auguste Comte, he actually proposed a macro view. Macro concept means he is actually giving okay, can you see me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Herbert Spencer also followed a macro approach only, gave importance to society. But when it comes to Spencer, you can see he see the study of society, that is nothing but sociology, as similar to biology. Okay, as similar to biology. If the voice is breaking, I can turn off my video, then it will be fine. So it is similar to biology. So what he said is he made a comparison between the sociology and biology. Okay, so that comparison is what we need to discuss under Spencer. The comparison goes like this. I'll show you here. So in case of biology, it study organism. In case of sociology, we study society. So if you see the elements, further reducible elements in society, the next you can see subsystems, right? Like educational system, political system, economic system, social system. So different systems are actually contributing to society. Similarly, in case of organism, there are different organs. Because of the organs only, the organisms function properly. Just like that, because of different systems only, society also function properly. Similarly, further reducible element you can see in society as groups. In case of organism, also tissues. And ultimately, the most reducible element in society is the individual, and in case of organism, it is the cell. Okay, so this is how he made a comparison. He just made a comparison, and according to him, a sociologist should be using a macro perspective. That means study the societal aspect by giving importance to society. You should be studying family, politics, religion, industry, association, and all these things. Okay, so this was the idea for scope of sociology for Herbert Spencer. So we are talking about Herbert Spencer. Now, then 1880s onwards, if you see, there are two prominent sociologists, very important sociologists. These two we are supposed to study in thinkers also, so you'll get very clear-cut idea. One is Max Weber. So he actually proposed a different perspective, different approach, that is micro approach. So his approach towards sociology is actually not audible. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Audible.
Voice is clear?
But screen is not appearing. Yes.
Yeah. So screen is not there now.
Yes.
One minute. Okay.
Now
So
okay, sir.
yeah, 1 minute. Let me take my PDF. Okay. Yeah, when we discuss about the second phase, so we basically need to talk about two important thinkers, that is Max Weber, okay, and he is proposing a micro approach. So when we discuss about micro approach, this is contrary to Auguste Comte. Micro approach means giving importance to the individual. So Max Weber understood a sociologist or sociology should be studying the meanings of the individual. So he has given importance to individual, and he proposed study of meanings, motives, emotions of the
Sorry,
individual.
sir, the voice is not audible.
Is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all of you, if you can close your video mode, then it will be okay. Your video also we can. We don't want to have this video, except in some case I will turn on my audio video. Otherwise, you can turn off your videos because so many people are there. No, like Avinash, you can turn off your video. Both video, audio, you turn off. Okay. So now is it okay? Is it audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we discuss about Max Weber, he is proposing micro perspective, studying the meanings attached by the actor to his action as the basic scope of sociology or the basic subject matter of sociology. So Max Weber, we will discuss in detail. What Max Weber says is his approach is understanding the meanings, understanding the emotions, understanding the motives of the actor for any action. For example, I am doing an action. So what as a sociologist you should study is the meanings attached by the actor to his action. That's why it's a micro approach. Okay, so Weber is actually proposing a micro approach, and Weber is a follower of micro approach. Okay, on the other hand, we will have Emile Durkheim. So he actually continued the tradition of Auguste Comte and Spencer. So he said it is again macro approach. He followed macro approach, and he said you should be studying social facts. What do you mean by social facts, etc. we will study later. Here Weber is talking about studying social action. So Weber is talking about studying social action by using micro perspective and meanings attached by the actor. Emile Durkheim, macro perspective and studying social fact. Okay, so this is Emile Durkheim was actually continuing the tradition of Auguste Comte and also Herbert Spencer, and he introduced the he took this functionalism to a better position. We will discuss about what is functionalism. These are different perspectives. Towards the end we will discuss that. So as of now, what I have told you is the first stage we discussed about Auguste Comte and Herbert Spencer. That is during 1838 to 1880. Not much developments was there related to sociology. The developments are actually started with the impact of, or with the work of Emile Durkheim and Max Weber. So Emile Durkheim's approach is related to macro. Max Weber approach is related to micro. Emile Durkheim is giving importance to society, whereas Weber is giving importance to individual. Okay, so these are the approaches that we are supposed to see during this time, and there will be followers of these two people also. For example, Weber's followers are the formal school, are known as formal school, and Durkheim's followers are known as synthetic school. Because during this time, sociology has been started teaching as a separate discipline in various universities. So different schools emerged, schools of thought emerged. So followers of Weber, that means these group are the followers of Weber. So they stress on studying the meanings or social actions, emotions, internal aspects. Okay, here the followers of Emile Durkheim, so studying the social fact. Okay, so these are the two schools of thoughts which were emerged related to sociology during this time. So these two thinkers you need to discuss. We will be discussing about these two thinkers in detail. So here I have told you in the beginning, I am just giving you the glimpse of what we are actually going to discuss in the future. Okay, now third phase when we discuss 1940 to 1990. Okay, so we have done with Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer. We then spoke about Emile Durkheim and Max Weber. Durkheim followed a macro approach, Weber followed a micro approach. Now when it comes to 1940-1990, the prominent thinkers that we need to discuss, which is there in your syllabus, Talcott Parson. Okay, what he did is he integrated both approach. He followed an integrated approach. So he said micro plus macro both are required. If you follow micro, you are ignoring the influence of society. If you are following macro, you are forgetting the meanings of the individual. Both are supposed to be studied. And how he is incorporating these two, how he is integrating these two, all these things we will discuss when it comes to Parson. So that is the reason why I am telling you, this is a topic which you should be answering only after completion of the syllabus. Now you may face some difficulty in connecting all these names, all these approaches. Even to an extent you may not be able to take this micro macro also, but we will develop everything over a period of time. You will not face any problem with respect to any of these people that we are actually discussing here. In fact, I have taken those names here in our answer which we are actually going to discuss in the future. In case any problem if you are facing in future, we will take care of it. You don't want to worry about that. Okay, I'll take care of your sociology completely. So at this point of time, these names and these approaches may be slightly difficult, but I'm just giving you the approach, how to present this particular answer, scope of sociology. But you think in this way, if somebody is asking to a sociologist, what is the scope of sociology, he will give you an instant answer from his experience, from his knowledge. and that will be better. And that's exactly what you are also going to do once we complete the syllabus. And that's what I'm actually expecting from you also. There is no point in mugging up exactly the same thing that I'm telling you. I can give you a ready-made answer. So when the question is asked about scope of sociology, first you should be writing about emergence of sociology in one line. What all things that we have discussed yesterday, in one line we can write: sociology emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe. So we have talked about modernity, we have talked about medieval Europe, we have talked about the challenges, we have talked about emergence of sociology in that one single simple line. Then we can talk about the developments in sociology. Since its emergence, initial sociologists wanted to make it on the line similar to natural sciences, right? And then because of the contribution of different thinkers, the scope of sociology widened. So you can say, and the scope of sociology can be understood in different phases. In the initial phase, we are talking about Auguste Comte. He discussed the scope of sociology in terms of social statics and social dynamics. Then Herbert Spencer, then Max Weber in the second phase, and in the second phase we also talked about Emile Durkheim. Is the voices clear? Any problem is there?
No, sir, no problem.
Okay. So that is what we have discussed, and in the third phase we are following an integrated approach. For example, Parson is combining micro, macro. Then we will see Merton. That is also there in your syllabus. Merton proposing a new concept, and he in fact introduced new different concept that also you will get as a question. We will study in Merton. So he proposed make middle range theories by studying middle range phenomena. So actually Merton highlighted some problems in Parson. There are some problems in Parson. You will not understand at this point of time the problems in Parson mainly is he went for universal theory, he went for grand theory, he mainly dealt with abstraction, so that led to a lot of criticism. So to solve that, Merton proposed don't go for abstraction, at the same time don't go for too much elementary phenomena, study middle range phenomena, make middle range theory. That was the approach of Merton. So all these thinkers, you just note these names, we are going to discuss in detail, and after that you will not forget it. Even if you want to, you will not forget it. So you will be in a position to write a very good answer for scope of sociology. Okay, Merton. Apart from that, there are other thinkers, few not that important. C. Wright Mills. Okay, he combined scientific humanistic approach. Then Karl Popper, he combined inductive deductive approach. So inductive deductive means, we will see this tomorrow in the coming sessions. Inductive approach means the approach that you normally go for in the process of theory building in natural science. Like inductive approach, when we discuss about in the natural science, what is the process of theory building? You collect data, okay, then you go for interpretation of data, and then you use certain perspectives, and finally you come up with some generalization. This is inductive approach. But there will be a reverse approach in case of social science. That is what deductive approach. Like you make a hypothesis first, and then you will try to prove that by collecting data. For example, in sociology, when we study about domestic violence, let's suppose you are studying about domestic violence. So if suppose you are using a deductive approach, first you make a hypothesis by saying that domestic violence is because of alcoholism. So you made the hypothesis, and then you will try to prove this by collecting data. This is a deductive approach. But that will not be the case in inductive approach. Inductive approach, there is no such hypothesis, there is no such preconception. You will study about domestic violence, but you go and ask to each and every people, are you facing this problem? If you are facing the problem, you take down individual accounts, right? Different details, and finally only you will come up with a conclusion. In that, you may conclude that it may be because of alcoholism, or it can be because of dowry, or it can be because of any other reason. Okay, so here he combined inductive deductive approach. Both approach have its own merit and demerit, like that. So you can see in the third phase a lot of combinations of approach is what you can see. Okay, fourth phase, that is a current phase, we can say 90s onwards. Sociology is actually permeating through each and every aspect of social life. New fields of knowledge are actually being added to the subject of sociology. So, and I'm keeping it open to you. Whatever you feel like, you can actually add here. Whatever current development is there, you can add here. For example, sociology of health, clinical sociology, criminal sociology. Okay, so all these are being added to the scope of sociology, and the scope of sociology is widening and it is very much open. So here, whatever you feel like, whatever you come across, whatever you are reading additional in Frontline, EPW, in case if you are reading extra sources, you can add that. Okay. So this is what we are actually supposed to discuss, and I have the PDF. I will discuss everything. In case if you have any doubt in between, then also we will discuss. Okay. So now somebody was asking me, in case apart from my lecture, if you need to read some other teacher's note also. Okay, obviously I've told you standard textbook is what you need. You can go for Harlem-Bosch. That's enough for paper 1. This notes and Harlem-Bosch is enough. Okay, maybe for third chapter, if you need to go extensive research methods, for that there are specific books written by different people. Any book is fine. Maybe research method by Ram Ahuja is fine. But still, if somebody want to read the notes of a teacher, I would always recommend you to go for Vajiram only. Okay, so in case if you want to read some textbook, it is Harlem-Bosch. In case if you need to read a note of any teacher, that should be Vajiram. Nothing more than that is required, and that's enough. Beyond that, there is no need to, and there is no point in collecting all the notes and all these things. Vajiram is enough, Harlem-Bosch is enough. With our notes, it will be fine. Our note itself is actually fine for paper 1. Okay, so. And regarding this thing, please avoid the casual talks in the WhatsApp group, because if I am sending something, you may miss it out. I may send some questions, or I may send the material, because it is obvious. See, somebody was asking the score. It is obvious if somebody attended interview, okay, UPSC interview, and he is joining sociology class. What is the interpretation from that? He might have scored very less in sociology. So you should have that common sense at least, right? So that is a very common thing. He should have scored very less in sociology, so he have joined the sociology classes. Like that only, so that should be the interpretation that you can make. But these are personal questions. In case if you want to ask, you can ask to that person, not in group, like that. Okay, so I'm going towards this PDF. Any doubt here from any of the discussion?
So inductive and deductive approach.
Inductive deductive approach. You didn't understood that?
Yes, I didn't got it.
Okay, actually, when we discuss about, we have a topic, research methods. There, when we discuss about quantitative and qualitative method, I will discuss this in detail. Otherwise, I'll give you an idea about this. Inductive is actually quantitative mainly, and deductive is actually qualitative. Or when we discuss about scientific and humanistic, inductive is scientific, humanistic, it is deductive. Or when we talk about positivism, non-positivism, again we make this distinction, inductive and deductive. Inductive means mainly used in science, scientific approach. See, you might have done some experiments in your +2 in physics lab, right? How you're doing it? First you go to the lab, you get some experiment, you collect the data, you make some measurements, right? You make the measurement, you put it in a table, then you make a graph, and then you come up with an understanding, and then you will generalize it. And once you repeat it, you will get exactly the same thing. It is testable, it is reliable, it is valid, right? So that process is actually inductive approach. Normal theory building process in science. You collect data. For example, there are accidents which are happening here in this turning point. Okay, so here some accidents are happening. Yeah, practical or empirical approach, correct. It is related to science. So suppose here accidents are happening. I want to study about the accidents. Why this particular area is prone to accident. So what I'll do, I'll collect the data over a period of last 2 years, and I'll make some interpretation based on that. I'll make a table, and I'll understand that in Jan this much accident happened, in Feb this much accident happened, in March this much accident happened, in June, July, August the accidents are increasing. So you should be in a position to make an interpretation. It is because of rain may be a factor. Okay, like that you should be in a position to interpret. It may be because of the turning, okay, or it may be because of the overspeeding in that particular area. So there will be different conclusions possible. So, and based on that you can come up with a generalization. And if it is inductive approach, you may be in a position to predict also, right? In the next June this much accidents are possible, this much death is possible. That is what actually expected from inductive approach. But there are obvious limitation of inductive approach in case of social sciences. It is very obvious that there are a lot of limitation for inductive approach, because in case of inductive approach, everything has to be quantified. You have to quantify in terms of numbers, and in case of social science, it is very difficult to quantify. Right? So emotions, feelings, motives, all these things you cannot quantify. So deductive approach is better. Deductive approach would be better in case of social science. I'll tell you what is this reason and etc. in the coming sessions. So deductive approach means you make a hypothesis. So here you finally make the theory. That is the last step. But in case of deductive approach, first itself you made a theory, hypothesis. What is that? I've told you in case of if you're studying domestic violence, or let's suppose this accident that I'm talking about, you're studying the accident. You make a hypothesis that it is because of the turning, or it is because of overspeeding, or it is because there is a alcohol shop over there is a bar over there, so it is because of drunken driving. Most of the people coming out of the bar, they are causing the accident. So you made a conclusion like that, and then you take up the study, then you collect data to prove that point. That is deductive approach. So more subjectivity are involved in deductive approach. Investigator may try to collect that data which will suit his convenience or his assumption. That is a subjectivity. Understood? Or if not understood even now also, this is a discussion of scope of sociology. We can discuss it under methodology. Ajay, understood or not?
Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Deductive is actually reverse engineering, a kind of reverse engineering. Okay, so can we go through the PDF now? Now, any question from first 3 chapters, it's all connected with emergence, right? So you should be writing about the emergence of sociology in your first line. So any question from first 2 especially, and 3 also to an extent, sociology emerged as a distinct discipline in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe. So we have incorporated everything in here: Europe, modernity, the challenges, okay, and it was a distinct discipline. So emergence also. So everything is incorporated in that single line. Initially, sociology was understood as a discipline which will help in understanding the changes in the society. I've told you yesterday, sociology, what is the context? There should be a need for a discipline which could explain the changes, to provide solution, and also to predict the future of society. So this is the reason why sociology emerged. Initial sociologists intended to develop sociology on the line similar to natural sciences. And the scope of sociology is gradually widening. In order to be scientific discipline, the scope of sociology need to be defined clearly. Okay, now if yes, I've seen somebody was asking me for the video. In case if you need your own video, that is not required, no, your own class video. I have updated the previous batch video already, so you can get all the videos in the application. In case of emergence of sociology, I've already updated. So once you attend the class, or if you're not able to attend that particular class, you can watch that video. So it's not that this batch video I will be uploading, it's already done that. Okay, so you can watch that. It is exactly the same. Content is the same. Okay. So initial sociologists, they wanted to make it similar to natural science. If you remember, yesterday we talked about Saint-Simon, thought of social physics and all those things. So the scope of sociology is gradually widening, and in order to be a scientific discipline, the scope of sociology need to be defined clearly. So this is the different phase in which you can understand. There is no such clear-cut division, but for the purpose of understanding it easily, I'm just giving you this division. Okay, so initial phase 1838 to 80, second phase up to 1940, then 1940 to 90, and this is till now. So initially, the sociologists attempted to understand society as a whole in terms of macro units. Auguste Comte, the father of sociology, in his book Course of Positive Philosophy and System of Positive Polity, delineated the scope of sociology into social statics and social dynamics. Social static means studying the structure, the static part, and then the dynamics, that is a change. Social static is the basic factor of social order, the structure which give every system its stability. Social dynamics is the inevitable evolutionary development. That means change. Evolutionary development means it is basically the change. Social static is the structure, social dynamic is the change. Comte argued for framing laws of social organization. So he stressed on making laws in order to develop sociology as a scientific discipline. Next, we talk about Herbert Spencer. In his book Principles of Sociology, compared society with an organism. Using a macro perspective, he delineated the scope of sociology in terms of its macro units like family, politics, religion, industry, association, etc. His scope is more descriptive in nature. According to him, society should study the interrelationship among different elements of society woven together in some intricate yet meaningful pattern. This means, see, there are different elements of society. They all are interrelated. So you have to study this interrelationship of different elements of society. They are woven together like politics, family, religion. All these are connected in an intricate manner, but still there is a meaningful pattern you can see. There is some meaning, there is a purpose for all these. So you have to study all those. Society he compared with an organism, subsystem with the organ, groups, tissue, individual, that is a reducible element in society, and cell is the most reducible element in case of organism. Thus, initially the scope of sociology is based on macro, humanistic view, and the social investigation work to be conducted in an inductive approach. Okay, so here they are focusing on macro view and inductive approach. After 1880s, the scope of sociology was further widened by Max Weber by introducing a micro perspective in sociology. So micro perspective, see, whatever I have underlined, these things has to be there in your answer. The language you can change, in your language you can write, but what all things underlined, that has to be there. According to him, sociology is a science which study the social action taken by the individual and thereby arrive at an explanation of cause and effect relationship. Okay, so you have to study what? Sociology is a science which have to study social action and arrive at an explanation of cause and effect. So there is an action. What is the cause of the action? What is the effect of the action? You are preparing for civil service. You are studying. What is the cause? What is the effect of the action? So how to establish the cause and effect of the action? For that, what you can do is you can understand the meaning attached by the actor to this action. So what is the meaning that you are attaching when you are performing this action of preparing for this exam? You want to crack this exam, so that will be the effect. Okay. Emile Durkheim delineated sociology as a study of social facts. He proposed a macro view. So Weber, social action and micro. Durkheim, social facts and macro. So macro view for identifying elements qualifying to be social facts. During this period, two books, Methods of Social Sciences by Weber and Rules of Sociological Method by Durkheim, played a significant role in explaining the scope of sociology. Towards the end of 19th century and beginning of 20th century, sociology came to be taught as a discipline in different universities of Europe and America. During these periods, examples of social facts, Sharavanan, I will discuss. We have a theory, social fact. This is a separate theory that we need to discuss under Durkheim. So for Durkheim, actually I'll give you the definition now. Social facts are the ways of acting, thinking and feeling which are external to individual and are endowed with the power of coercion by the reason of which they control over him. So it's slightly complicated. We will discuss that. It's not a big deal when we discuss the theory. But still, if you want to know the example for social fact, everything which is existing in the society is a social fact. Social facts are the ways of acting, thinking and feeling. See, when it comes to the elements that Durkheim studied, division of labor, which is a social fact, suicide, which is a social fact, religion is a social fact, family is a social fact, everything which is there in the society is a social fact. So ultimately you have to study everything in the society. Okay? We will do that in detail. So in the beginning itself I have told you all those things that we are discussing here at this stage. Even social action also, You actually, you know what is action, but you don't know what is social action. Social action is different. This we have to discuss. This is a separate theory. And two thinkers are talking about this, Weber and Parson. And you will be expecting a question, theory of social action by Parson and how he improved over Weber. So all these are in-depth understanding required. So at this level, it's not required. We'll come to that. All these are theories. All these are we are supposed to study.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now towards the end of 19th century and the big then two schools, formal school and synthetic school. I've told you formal school are the followers of micro perspective or Weber and took a limited view of scope of sociology. According to them, sociology should confine itself to describing, classifying and analyzing the micro units like activities, relationships, etc. For example, you have thinkers here, Weber. You just need only Weber. I have added others also, it's not required. Weber understood sociology as study of social action and the meanings attached by the actor to his action. Weir-Kant in terms of mental relationship. Von Weiss in terms of fundamental social process. Fundamental social process means the ways of interaction, how we interact, etc. Taunis in terms of social relationship. These are not important for us. Auguste Comte's approach is macro. Auguste Comte approaches macro. Okay, that we have discussed already here. Initial sociologist Auguste Comte and also Spencer both followed inductive as well as macro. Here we have discussed the social investigation work to be conducted in an inductive approach. Initially scope was macro. That means those two thinkers were macro. Now synthetic school, they follow macro phenomena. Okay, so the scope of sociology is to concentrate macro. According to them, the relevance of a particular social phenomena must be understood in the context of wider reality. So wider reality means society. So you have to give importance to society. It emphasizes on studying society as a whole. Durkheim identified the scope in terms of three principal divisions. Just ignore this, we will discuss this: social morphology, social physiology, general sociology, etc. Karl Mannheim divided sociology into two main sections: general sociology and historical sociology. Now you will talk about 1940s onwards. There's a third phase. So here Talcott Parson, he followed an integrated approach. How? He dismantled the dichotomy of micro and macro. He said this is not required, this is not correct. You should not make a division between micro and macro. Both are useful for studying the social reality. If you are going with macro, you are ignoring the individual meanings. If you are going with macro, you are ignoring the individual meanings. Similarly, if you are going with micro, you are ignoring the influence of the society. Okay, so both has to be incorporated, and he proposed an integrated approach. According to him, sociology should aim at developing generalized theories. Similarly, Robert Merton proposed development of middle-range theories by studying middle-range phenomena. Okay, Karl Popper combined inductive and deductive approach to develop more holistic viewpoint. C. Wright Mills in the sociological imagination approach combined scientific and humanistic approach. So the scope of sociology further received boost by the development of perspectives like structuralism, we'll study this, phenomenology, we will study this, ethnomethodology, we will study this also. This will come under non-positivism, these two. We will be discussing maybe day after tomorrow. Okay, now recently with the emergence of postmodern approach, a trend towards multidisciplinary view is visible. New fields of study are being gradually added to the sociology, which are traditionally not considered as part of it. For example, sociology of health, criminal sociology, clinical sociology are finding permanent space in the scope of sociology. That means the scope of sociology is gradually widening. It is permeating through each and every sociological imagination. I'll discuss. See, when we will have a discussion on C. Wright Mills. the scope is gradually widening. This was made possible also due to incorporation of different methodologies with time. So with time, there are a lot of methodologies which are added. Different perspectives have been added. For example, you can talk about functional perspective by Durkheim, conflict perspective by Marx. Okay, phenomenology, ethnomethodology already we have discussed, etc. Okay, so all those things has to be incorporated in your answer. So the scope of sociology is gradually widening. This was also made possible due to incorporation of different methodologies. Okay, different perspectives require an emphasis on different aspect on social reality. For example, the functionalist perspective had a more humanistic orientation, which resulted in identification of key components of society which are maintaining social order, which are important for social order. So here, which are important for social order. So functional perspective means they will always try to see everything in a functional terms. Anything which existing in society is necessarily fulfilling certain function. That's why it is existing. Even for them, inequality is functional, suicide is functional, crime is functional. Because it is existing means it is doing some function. How it is doing some function and all we will discuss later. How crime is function, because certain rate of crime is normal. If it is not there, the policing system, judicial system won't work properly. If it is there, those things will work properly so that there won't be any total social disorder later. If something all of a sudden happened means then there will be a big problem. Similarly, conflict perspective highlighted the contradictions resulting in enrichment of the scope. So it highlighted the contradictions, so that led to the enrichment of the scope. The positivist quantitative methodology relied heavily on empirical reality, whereas non-positivist included internal, hidden and abstract aspect within the scope. What is positivist? What is non-positivist? We will discuss. Sociological approach. Conflict perspective is actually given by Marx. Marxian views seeing things in a different perspective. For example, functionalist will say religion is integrating society. Conflict perspective, religion is the opium of masses. Religion don't have any integrating role. Religion is an exploitative agent. Family is an exploitative device. Because of family only, people are going to workplace and getting exploited in the workplace. If no family, you may not go. No compulsion. Similarly, religion is playing as the role of an opium. Religion is the heart of heartless world, soul of soulless condition, and just an opium of masses, according to Marx. So that is a conflict perspective, understanding the contradiction of any social phenomena. We'll do that. Yeah, obviously sociological approach to human actions are different from psychological approach. Even in the theory of suicide itself, you will understand. Suicide is something which is considered under the domain of psychology, but after that it became sociological. We'll see that. Now this positivist quantitative methods, we'll see that in the coming session. Also non-positivist method, we will see. You will not face any problem. Okay, now when you're reading this, just keep it, just reserve it for the coming session. This paragraph. In fact, the entire discussion. Okay. Now this is another topic which I will do towards the end, comparison with other subject. For example, you will be asked to compare sociology, no, there is nothing similar in functionalist and conflict perspective. Actually, no, you can ask, no problem. It will be very difficult for me to read in between. I may miss also. You can ask, in that there is no problem. See, just that what I have told you is, once you ask the question, just turn off the mic. You can ask directly, no issues. Because if you don't ask, I may miss out also. Okay. So what we were discussing here? Yeah, like you will get questions like comparison with other subjects, sociology versus economics. See, why I am keeping it towards the end, because I'll give you the write-up, I'll give you the answer for this. Even now also I can tell you, you might have seen many places, so this is sociology, this is economy. This is sociology, this is economy. So 10 points will be there. But my approach towards this particular question or this particular topic is, Once we're done with thinkers, you will be in a position to write this. Just like what I've told you in case of scope of sociology, this also. Once you're done with the subject sociology, you should be in a position to easily compare sociology and economy. And for that matter, we will be talking about division of labor in Durkheim. So once we get the theory of division of labor in sociology, essentially it was understood under the domain of what? Economy. It was actually given by Adam Smith in his Wealth of Nation, which increased productivity, profitability, efficiency of the firms, etc. But in case of sociology, we have a different understanding of division of labor. So there is a commonality, right? Economy and sociology. So this interconnections you can, and when we talk about capitalism, Marx is talking about capitalism, Weber is talking about capitalism, both are connected to economy as well as sociology. Similarly, when we discuss about psychology, sociology versus psychology. So theory of suicide. Okay, by Durkheim only, we are talking about thinkers, theory of suicide by Durkheim. So till then it was considered as the psychological aspect, but now it is sociological. We'll discuss about this interconnection. So I am reserving this topic for tell me, Anjali, I'm not able to read it, it's so long. Tell me, Anjali.
Sir, can we say in the last phase we can see sociology divided into many fields, so we can say sociology put efforts to be more acceptable like the other sciences. Like health sociology, there is a specialized field like medical science. Criminal sociology, there is a
criminology. Criminology, yes.
Like that.
But the fact is, see, in sociology, there is the scope is unlimited. We can study the social dimension of everything. That is the reason why we can go through each and every different subjects. The social dimensions can be studied by using sociology. It's not for getting legitimacy or anything. There is a scope for everything. Right? There is a social dimension for all these. Even for related to health also, there is a social dimension. Sex ratio, reproductive health, all these, in fact, if you see your syllabus, these are the topics which is there in your second last chapter in your paper 2, reproductive health, sex ratio, all these topics are there. Mortality, all these are connected. So there are a lot of social reasons for sex. For example, I'll tell you one case when we talk about green revolution. Okay, so when there is a green revolution, what will happen? Only some areas got the benefit. For example, Punjab and Haryana got the benefit maximum. Right? So what about other states? This led to regional disparity. Now what happened with the agricultural labor here? The demand is increased or decreased? Agricultural labor. The demand for agricultural labor is increased here. So what about when the demand increase? Simple economy. What will happen with the wages here? Wages will increase, right? So here agricultural labor's wages are high, but in non-green revolution area the wages are pathetic and they don't have job also. So what will happen? Agricultural labor from here, he can either go to city and can do some menial work, or he can migrate to here and he can do the work he is having knowledge about, right? So he can migrate here and he get better wages and he can do the work that is known to him. So what is happening? There is a source area. From here, the male population is coming down. Here, the male population is increasing, right? So here, male population is coming down, right? That means sex ratio is affected here and sex ratio is affected here also, because agricultural laborers, they won't go with family. You got it? So here, what we are talking about, even though sex ratio is something related to health or some other subject, but there is a social consequence, social impact, social reason is there. This is one of the reason actually. One of the reason for adverse sex ratio in Punjab and Haryana is because of migration only, male migration. Obviously cultural factors are there, that is predominant, and then there are medical reasons also there, that is predominant, but still this is also a factor. So here what is happening? Male population is increasing. Here female population is increasing. Now, so here if you now in this area if you think, females are taking up agriculture, right? All the male agricultural laborers are migrating. So here females will take up. That lead to feminization of agriculture. Feminization of agriculture where? In non-green revolution area. Getting me? In green revolution area, male population will do because wages are high. So here feminization of agriculture. Also that led to feminization of poverty. So here, because male population has gone and they are facing problem, feminization of poverty. All these are the social dimension. Normally as a GS student you may not think that these having social dimension. But once you complete your syllabus you will understand all these things can be seen in the social angle. Whether it is health or anything. Crime or everything, even suicide, everything will come within the social dimension.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so it is not that to get the justification or legitimacy we are sociology is going to different subject. It is like that subjects having a lot of social impact, a lot of significant from the social side also, society's side also. So it is automatically become part of the subject. Tell me, Debashish, speak, that will be better. There is no consequence if feminization is increasing. That one trend is what we are discussing. Okay, now here I have just written an introduction. Introduction is there. We will discuss this in coming time. I'll give you the write-up also. I'll give you the notes also. But I will, most importantly, I will teach you how to connect this particular answer with the thinkers. That is what required, rather than mugging up. Even for that, for this subject, sociology, economy, comparison, you don't want my help. But what I'll do is, when we discuss about each thinker, I'll tell you how is it making connection with other subject. So you should be in a position to write, in fact, here also, your own answer. Even though a lot of ready-made answer is available in the market for this particular topic, sociology, anthropology, sociology, economy, sociology, history, sociology, political science, all these are available. Any book if you take, essential sociology, it is there. Any coaching material if you take, it is there. But my objective is, I'll make you, interconnect things. Still, if you feel like you're not able to do that, I don't think you will face any problem. But still, if you feel that, then you can go with the ready-made material. Okay, so this is an introduction. Sociology as a separate discipline emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity. Everywhere we will write the first sentence as this. As a scope of subject matter widens, some of the sociologists consider sociology as a synthesis of all the social sciences, and the discipline is actually fabricated by running a thread through all the sciences. Just an introduction, so you can write whatever it requires. This debate arises with the subject matter of sociology comes similar to other sciences. So X, if it is anthropology, you write anthropology here. If it is economy, you write economy here. If it is political science, you write that here. Is one such social science related to sociology in many aspects. Thus, we can see that sociology and that particular science subject show many similarities as well as contradiction in their subject matter and in the methodology. So we need to discuss about similarity and also the contradictions. Therefore, this is the conclusion. The relation of sociology with that particular subject is considered to be mutual exchange and mutual stimulus. We won't say both are contradictory or both are opposite, nothing. We will say even though we are studying this and that here, but both are considered mutual exchange. For example, sociology without history is rootless and history without sociology is toothless, like that. Okay, in fact that is also one of the questions which was asked. So all these are mutual exchange and mutual stimulus. These are not contradictory, rather these are complementary. Okay, so this has to be your conclusion. So that's about this topic. We will do this, I will connect it with the thinkers, so you will understand it much better rather than giving a ready-made answer. I don't think that's a good approach. For that you don't want my help actually. Yeah, any doubt we can discuss now.
Hello, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, can we say that intellectualism is the background for emergence of sociology?
Intellectualism?
Is the background for emergence
Intellectualism is one of the most important reasons for emergence of sociology.
So how to write it in answer, sir? Okay, how we start this?
Yeah, actually that you should be writing with the help of the thinkers. Okay, so you can in fact talk about Saint Simon's, but when we discuss about intellectualism, we can discuss about what all things happened with respect to modernity in 1 or 2 paragraphs. Then talk about intellectual contribution. contribution. You bring about Comte, bring about Simon, and you can talk about Spencer also. Today we have discussed. All those are part of this intellectual contribution. In fact, even Durkheim, Weber, all will be forming part of it. Sociology just emerged. Then more and more intellectual contribution, more and more perspectives, more and more methods are coming. Emergence alone is not enough. If it is only emergence, it's only Auguste Comte you can talk about.
Yes, sir.
Even if the question is about emergence, you have to write more.
And sir, in this intellectualism, can we connect it with the other scope also, other sciences like other social sciences?
Yes. In fact, you can write about Locke, Bentham, Rousseau, all these contributions also. If you need, if you get some connection, if you can write, you can write. You might have studied that in world history. That if you want, you can add also.
Okay, sir.
But
Thank you, sir.
why to spend and waste that much of time is the question. Anyway, you are you are studying in world history, so you may be knowing all those. So if you know that, you can add that. You can add that as a yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Otherwise, you try to develop from what all things you know, like Simon. You can talk about Comte. You can talk about Comte's book, what Comte is saying. Okay, like social statics, social dynamics. You can say laws of social organization. He followed a macro perspective. He followed a scientific approach. He proposed making universal laws, and then talk about Herbert Spencer. All these are intellectual background only.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Anything else?
If possible, you can provide us a PDF file early in the morning so I can take print out and keep with your lecture.
Sure. In tomorrow onwards, I'll do that. In fact, today also I wanted to do, but I had some corrections in this. Some spelling mistakes was there, so I recognized it towards the end only. That's why I just got it done towards the.
Okay, no issues. And if you can do password protected encryption or.
Which one?
You can do password protection PDF or encryption because
it's okay.
In market.
It's
Because it
okay.
is very nice. So okay, thanks.
Where did you see?
No, sir, I haven't seen anything, but please, for protection, you can add a PDF.
Yes,
Because
yes.
some teachers are doing the same thing.
Yes. It's okay. That's not a big deal.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, when we'll completely know this historical thinkers' perspective, well, then only we'll be able to bring in the thinkers' perspective in questions like one has asked.
Yes. Actually, like that. And my approach is also like that. I want you to be in a position to connect everything. So once we're done with thinkers, automatically you will do that, and you will get that confidence.
Okay, sir.
Without that, actually, there is no point in talking too much about thinkers. I can even explain here more Weber, more Durkheim, but there is no point in doing that here because you don't understand anything. In fact, for Weber, we will spend 4 days. Durkheim also, we will spend 4-5 days. Marx also, we spend 5 days. So what is the point in discussing just that name is here, but if I need to explain, I have to take a lot of time to explain that. So that is why I've told you in the beginning itself.
You also earlier tell that you will completely, when you completely know this historical thinkers' perspective, then only you can
And only after completing thinkers and getting this perspective, you should be in a position to write your, sociological answer. Otherwise,
Yes,
it will be a general studies answer.
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, in formal school and in synthetic school, they talk about form and content. So, sir, please can you explain what is form and what is content?
Pardon? Can you come again?
Sir, in formal school and in synthetic school, they talk about form and content. So, sir, please can you explain what is form and what is
Formal school and synthetic school? Form and content.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is related to the perspective only mainly. When we talk about formal school, that is related to Weber. Mostly we talk about micro aspect in the formal school. Okay, and when we discuss about synthetic school, we discuss mainly about macro perspective. So here we mostly discussing about non-positivism. Okay, non-positivism, and here we discuss about positivism. So when we deviate, when we make a distinction between formal and synthetic school, and in case if you need to write about that only, you talk about here mostly, qualitative methods are used. Okay, here quantitative methods are used. Here scientific approach is followed. Here humanistic approach is followed. Here deductive approach is followed. Here inductive approach is followed. So here there is a stress towards objectivity. Here not much stress towards objectivity. So this is a kind of content and form, and that you will have to explain. But I think we will discuss this in the coming session when we discuss about phenomenology, ethnomethodology. In fact, we will cover this formal school and synthetic school there itself. Basically, positivists are related to the synthetic school and non-positivists are coming under formal school. So it will be covered like that only.
So which one is more objective?
More authentic, and again debate is there.
Objective, sir.
Authentic, right?
Sir, no, sir. Which one is more objective, whether micro or macro?
Objective, right? Macro is more objective because they are stressing on objectivity. When it comes to micro, they are saying that see, Weber is talking about objectivity, but future people who are following micro approach, they are even saying that even subjectivity is okay in sociology. So what is more objective? It is clearly macro.
Yes, sir. But you said micro is more scientific.
Yeah, micro. Micro is more scientific when it comes to Weber's approach. Weber says it is the scientific study is required.
When it is more scientific, it must be targeting objectivity.
It has to be objectivity. See, micro is said to be more scientific, but macro perspective is completely stressing on scientific and objectivity. Micro scientific, because you are using methods. I will talk about this, Verstehen, ideal types, different methods you use. But the problem, ultimately micro, they are dealing with what? They are dealing with the meanings, right? You are dealing with the emotions of the individual. So there will be a problem, because ultimately, even though you are stressing on objectivity, you are stressing on scientific methods, but you are dealing with human beings whose behavior cannot be predicted. So it will obviously go as problem with objectivity will be there.
Sir, for in sociology's comparison with other subjects, do we also need to, the question is about comparison between sociology and anthropology, do we also need to know about anthropology, or how do we answer those questions?
No need to know completely. You just need to have a broad idea what anthropology study. For example, anthropology study human beings. That's enough. If it is about economics, you just need to say economics is dealing with organization of production, how things are produced in the market, how demand supply is managed in the market. So that one line is enough. Sociology is studying society changes and the structure, whereas economics study this. That's enough. You don't want to know more about that.
Sir, but will there be a separate question, sir, where we have to compare and contrast assets?
There may be, but this questions 10 marker can be asked, and we will prepare that. It is actually going to be a very easy question only.
Okay, sir.
Let's do with the thinkers, and then you see whether we can do it or not. In case if we cannot do it, we will discuss it separately also. But obviously we cannot discuss the other subject. Yeah.
So micro is like subjective understanding or approach of objective reality.
No. Micro is the reverse. Whatever you are saying, Abhishek, what you are saying, it is a reverse. Objective understanding of subjective reality.
Okay.
Why subjective reality? Because micro means you are studying the meanings, emotions, which are subjective. And you are using scientific methods to study. So objective understanding of subjective reality.
Subjective reality.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
And when it comes to within micro itself, when it comes to phenomenology and ethnomethodology, it will be go beyond that also. Subjective understanding of subjective reality it will be.
Okay.
We will discuss it. Let's not make it complex. Many people will get afraid of all these words. So let's not get into that. So that is why I want to keep it very simple in the beginning. We will go to all these step by step. So otherwise some people will feel like beginners are there, no? So many beginners are there. So
Sir,
yeah, tell me.
sir, is it any thinker tell about social problem in society before Renaissance period, sir?
Renaissance period, see, actually when this intellectual contribution is coming, that period is what Renaissance period. Even before that also, we can talk about, Aristotle, Socrates, etc.
Plato, sir.
Yeah, Plato, Aristotle, etc. we can talk about. But not important sociologically.
Inductive approach or inductive approach?
Inductive and deductive.
Sir, in inductive approach or deductive approach, in which way we can understand the sociology in a complete and a good perspective?
Sociology, a deductive approach is better.
Okay, initially they're of inductive, like after few thinkers are doing two, sir, like inductive and deductive. So deductive is better, then why other thinkers are like combining both?
Because they actually, initial thinkers wanted to make it similar to natural science. So they just followed the methods directly from natural science. So since then this debate is there whether to go with inductive or deductive. So for example, thinkers like Durkheim, he is saying you should go for inductive approach. Tell me.
Okay, and it is vary from thinker to thinker, sir.
Yeah, it is depending on the thinker. For example, some thinkers are using deductive approach, some are using inductive. Durkheim was using inductive, whereas other thinkers using deductive.
Then, sir, how sociology is rested on interaction, sir? How we relate sociology with the interaction?
That is a different perspective. Interactionist perspective that you should be studying under Mead. Sociology is studying the interaction.
And what is a clinical sociology, and is there any same futures with sociology of hospital? Something you said, sir.
Yeah, related to that only.
Then why it was not emerged earlier, sir? Like.
No. Now, see, these days only people started. Before there are a lot of other issues to study, So just sociology was just emerging. Sociology is relatively a very young discipline. It started teaching in universities only from Parsons' time, Durkheim and Weber time only. So post 1980s only, I think, not 1980s, 1880s only it started teaching in universities. And even when it started teaching in universities, it was started teaching along with some other discipline. Individually as a separate discipline from 1900 only. So you see, only 100 years it is. So obvious limitations was there. Actually the thinkers and the academicians were after this, what is actually the subject matter now, the scope is widening. Now it is coming in each and every aspect. That is why.
Yes.
Earlier also the scope was there. But nowadays, these institutions have more impact on social life. All these institutions.
I think priority basis, sir.
And the situation has also changed.
Sir, like before we discussed, sir, like formal schools and synthetic schools. So the students will divide and go to that, like formal and synthetic. What kind of that?
Yeah, it's like. Formal school and synthetic school means these are different schools of thought. Formal school and synthetic school, one group is following the micro approach, the other will be macro approach. So sociologists at that time, but after that 1940s onwards, this debate is no more there. It's a debate in some period of time. Some belong to this particular, they say that I will follow micro approach, the others following macro approach, followers of Weber and followers of Durkheim. But that was gone when it comes to Parsons. Integrated approach is what more visible now. It's not that people are divided. That time this division was there. That time this debate was there. Whether micro is required or macro is required. Now that debate and nothing is there. It is integrated approach, multidisciplinary approach.
So earlier it was in their circulars or in schools or colleges, they used to teach this. So one doubt, sir, in one curriculum, why they differ like two? So how only the followers are there that that
Yeah,
techniques were used
it is
to read
like the way that particular sociologist see the thing. For example, we are studying sociology. It's not that divided into two schools and they both are taught in differently. They will be taught sociology completely, both micro, macro, etc. But after attending this class, you may think that I'm interested in micro because micro is more scientific, individual's interpretation. Some other students will think that sociology has to be dealing with macro because it's all about society's importance. Like that only.
Okay, listening all and taking one.
Hmm.
Okay, sir, this family and relationships will come under micro or macro?
Macro, and then when we discuss about family, within family we will discuss micro relation. Like micro relation means brother, sister, husband, wife, okay, parent, children. That is micro level. When we talk about family as a whole, it is macro unit.
Okay, then different families will come under macro, and in family the individuals come under micro.
Yes.
So,
Tell me.
Sir, the role of current affairs in paper 1.
Paper 1, the role of current affair is so high. For example, see, when questions from social change, what are the contemporary change you need to write? Education, social change, science and technology, social change. So all you need to write about, current affairs, current development. Family, what are the contemporary changes in family? From joint family to nuclear family to current days trend also you need to write, no? Live-in family, gay parent family, weekend family, right? Only husband wife meeting in the weekends, symmetrical family, plastic sexuality, different. We will study all this, but everywhere it is dynamic, except from the chapters of first, second, third, and thinkers. It is mobility. For example, social mobility. Okay, when the question is asked about avenues of social mobility, all these changes you need to explain, not only in terms of education, the available changes you need to explain.
Thank you, sir.
Paper 2 unlimited role is there, paper 1 also some role is there. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, what will be the future of sociology? I mean, if there is a question, what all will be the scope of sociology in future? So, what we supposed to write? Can you give some?
The scope of sociology is widening, and anything which is connected to society, sociology will study and can study. Okay, so and that you need to develop that. Various methods. It has to be more scientific. It has to be more objective. So in that context, you can even predict the future of society. So it has to help in understanding society and social changes and social impacts. So everything is now connected with society only. Anything and everything is connected with society, having importance to society. So whatever social institution or any phenomena having significance or impact on society, you have to study that. So the scope of sociology is unlimited. The future is wide open.
sir, hello?
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, can you say that what is a functionist theory, communalism, left wing, right wing, all those terms? Can you explain the definitions in any other session? Like, can you take any other session?
We will discuss that. We will discuss that in marks, no?
But sir, we are getting these terms now, sir. Like, if you go up to the thinkers, like, we are not getting these chapters now, sir. Like, what are these terms? Like, what is functionalist? What is this communalism, left wing, right wing, and these terms?
No, left wing,
like,
right wing, and all are not coming in sociology. Not that important. Okay, but
like I'm saying, the terms, sir. What are the terms?
Okay, we will discuss that. But what you said, communism, functionalism, etc., are coming under thinkers. Are you talking about communism or communalism?
Two, sir.
Communalism is there in your syllabus. Communism is also
Yes,
there in
sir.
your syllabus.
Yes. So I listened like you're saying about that. You said that communist and ism are different, no, sir. So I listened to it. It's
Okay.
communist and communism. Ism and ist are different, no, sir. Like, which is a process. Ism means like something you said, no, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing.
Excuse me, sir. What is difference between general sociology and historical sociology?
General sociology, like when we discuss about Indology, Indology is a part of sociology, right? Indology is a different perspective in sociology that is related to historical aspect. You are studying from history. General sociology means general interpretation. That we have just discussed that about general sociology, historical sociology. But is there any question? Have you seen any question related to that? I haven't seen any such questions there.
No, sir. No, sir.
Now, general sociology means all those normal things. Historical sociology means trying to see historical events in sociological perspective. We will discuss a lot of examples for that. For example, when we discuss about Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, just now I am just discussing a theory here, but we don't want to discuss a complete theory. This is under Weber, we will discuss this. Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. This is related to historical sociology.
Sir, but I can't understand Karl Mannheim's approach. General sociology, historical approach.
No, he just gave that idea. That's enough. I just wrote one line over there. Otherwise, Karl Mannheim is not there in the syllabus, and we don't want to go for it. General sociology, so he divided. This is related to mostly contemporary. Okay, this is related to studying historical phenomena. For example, how capitalism emerged. That is related to historical sociology. What are the problems in capitalism? If you see, that is general sociology. You didn't get it?
Sir, structuralism. What is the structuralism?
Structuralism, that is a perspective that we will discuss. Under that particular person will discuss. Now you will not understand that.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir. Sir, you told yesterday that we have to shorten these notes. So, what to write, what is important and what not? I can't understand. Please help me.
Okay, why I said so is because if you see the current questions, these are not necessarily direct. For example, sociology is preeminently the study of modern society. That is a question which is asked from emergence. So what all things that we have written, it may not be enough, but some things which we have discussed you need to incorporate also. So based on that you need to plan some. Preeminently the study of modern society means even present day society also you need to bring, right? Just now we have discussed clinical sociology, sociology of health, etc. also need to be added over there. Similarly, sociology is related to scientific temper. Then also you need to talk about modernity, which was also related to scientific temper. But at this current situation also you need to discuss over there.
Okay, sir. So you underlined the points over in the notes. So we should mention that.
That points has to be there in your mind, and the points has to be there in your mind, and based on that, you need to develop your own answer. Because the content, if you see the notes, it will be around 400-500 words will be there. When these topics are very simple, when you go further, thinkers and all, more and more content will be there. So you should be in a position that you can do once you know the subject, once you know the topic, you can automatically come to you. Once you write the first answer, second answer, it will come to you. You don't want to worry. At this stage, if you're a beginner, you will face that problem. But once you start writing answers, this problem is common to all the students. You don't want to worry about that. Once you start writing answers, that problem will be over. It will not be there anymore. At least one test, till the time you take your first test, you will face this problem. Once you take a test, then you will understand this is the case and this is how I need to approach. Because see, right now you may think that all these points which I have underlined, you have to incorporate in your answer, and I will incorporate it in my answer. And you will have that stubborn, stern stand. But once you take a test, you will understand the practical aspect, what you can write, and what is going to be the circumstances, what is the space available, what is the time available. Then you will realize it. Then based on that, you can modify your preparation.
Thank you, sir.
Even now also, I've seen people who are writing the answers, one answer, two answer to me. They will write it the best way, best answer, because they have the note, they have all the reference material, and they write the best way. So, but when you write the test, then you will realize it. It is the biggest challenge and problem. Yeah, tell me.
Excuse me, sir. I have one question related to micro or macro perspective.
Tell me.
The terms like intergroup conflicts, behavior of individuals, collective behaviors, group behaviors. These are come under, whether these are come under micro approach or macro approach.
The group behavior, collective behavior, those will come under macro.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Ah.
Sir, how can you briefly please?
Pardon? How can?
Sir, briefly can you discuss behavior of individuals? How?
Yeah, individual behavior will come under micro. The collective behavior, the behavior like you go to a movie hall and when people are making some noise, you also make noise. That is a collective behavior, the collective action. Crowd behavior. That will be macro. Individual behavior, micro.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Intergroup conflicts like.
Intergroup conflict is also macro.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, Ashish.
Sir, as we saw, like Herbert Spencer had a macro approach and he compared
Macro. Herbert Spencer had macro approach.
And he compared it with biology, like he compared the structural way of organism, organs, tissue. Is there any take over this that why he compared with biology?
No, simple takeover is initial sociologists, you will understand their approach. They were more concerned about making it similar to natural science. Simon, I've told you, social physics. Similarly, Spencer, he is again more concerned about making a comparison between sociology and biology. Just to prove that it is also natural, similar to natural science.
Excuse me, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, how to write French Revolution lead to emergence of sociology?
French Revolution, have you studied that in world history?
No, yes, sir. World history. I read it, and questions are also asked.
Yes. Actually, these questions are, this is actually a miscellaneous question, but still, we have some content. We just need to write we don't want to write the French Revolution. Even today also somebody was asking me in message how to write this answer. So, I said the same thing, the social, 1 minute. Sorry. Actually, we don't want to write what is French Revolution, etc. Even the causes, etc. also we don't want to write. What is the social impact? See, French Revolution mainly ultimately it came up with the establishment of democracy, and we have discussed that democracy was a problem. But it is not only because of French Revolution. So towards the end in your answer, you should show that knowledge that it is not only because of French Revolution or associated development. It was a impulse. Okay, the immediate context or the immediate impulse, it was created in the French society, obviously, but along with that, so many other factors also there, like intellectual contribution, industrial revolution, all those also need to be written along with French Revolution. So ultimately, what content you have, exactly the same thing you need to arrange in a different order. Correct? You have to tell to the examiner that, okay, French Revolution is there, these are the social impact. This was one of the most important reason because the people were so much uncertain and immediate impact or the immediate context and impulse was present. But at the same time, it was also made possible due to various other factors like industrialization created a lot of issues. Right? So that has to be the way you need to take this because emergence of sociology, French Revolution is just one part. Even though the question is asked about that, you have to tell, it is your role to tell the examiner that that is not alone responsible for emergence of sociology. It is coupled with a lot of other factors also. Then you will not face any content problem. Conclusion? Ultimately the emergence itself you will write as a conclusion.
Okay.
So